Hey bot builders, Matthew here at Botpress, and welcome to my explanation of our new bot template called Kitchen Sink. This is an advanced bot that helps you learn Botpress's core functionalities. It has a whole bunch of concepts that are commonly asked and is intended to be either used as a boilerplate for your project or to see how things can be done on our platform. This bot showcases how to turn conversations with AI, think ChatGPT, to getting work done. So for instance, answering questions from a knowledge base. Additionally, it shows how to do so with full control button and confirmation processes, and how you can easily mix and match to suit your project requirements. So let's begin. Moreover, it is important to note that within the description of this video, there will be a link to our documentation page that specifically tells you how to download this template, import it into your studio, and use it yourself. It will contain step-by-step guides, step-by-step instructions, including pictures, and will give you also a general overview of the template within the documentation. And so with that in mind, we can officially discuss the topics that are actually covered within this advanced starter bot template. First things first, we'll be going over the loading user data at beginning of conversation. And so this should be found within the initialize flow on the starter bot template. Okay, so here we are back on the starter bot template. So let's take a look firstly at the workflows here on the side. Let's just go through them. So here we have the main flow, the error, the timeout, the conversation end, and all of the other flows that were discussed are found within the app folder. So this is kind of like your source code. So if you open that up, you can see the different folders that were discussed. So the schedule appointments folder, the search knowledge bases folder, live agent handoff, etc. And then you have your initialize and router. So for this chapter, I guess you could say, of the video, we're going to go over the main and initialize flows. Before jumping into the main and initialize flow, there's a very important topic that you'll see throughout the entire template, which is the topic of variable scopes within Botpress. So in Botpress, we have 4 different types of variables. So we have workflow variables, user variables, conversation variables, and bot variables. If you have a workflow variable, then that variable scope is within that workflow. So it can only be called as such within that workflow. So if you were to create a workflow variable called confirmation number, then within workflow A, you can call the variable workflow.confirmation number. However, if you were now to go to workflow B, unless you were to pass that variable there and recreate the variable there, you can no longer call workflow.confirmation number because you are no longer within workflow A. So what does this mean? So if we were to go to schedule appointment function, as you can see here, we have 4 workflow variables: conf number, email, party size, and reservation date time. Whereas if we were to go to, I don't know, search KB function, as you can see, we now have different workflow variables. But as you may notice, the user variables are always staying the same. Why is that? So basically, let's talk about what scope actually means. So when you have a workflow variable, it pertains to that particular workflow. When you have a conversation variable, it pertains to that particular conversation. So no matter which workflow you're in, a confirmations variable scope is every single workflow as long as we are within the same conversation. Of course, once we switch conversation, then the conversation variables, or rather values, reset, right? So workflow variables stuck within a single workflow, whereas conversation variables are stuck within a single conversation. Now, what about user variables? So as you can see, the pattern here is that user variables pertain to a specific user. So for instance, if I were to set user.name to Matthew, then for that specific user, user.name will always be Matthew. So no matter which workflow I'm in, user.name will always be Matthew. Whereas a bot, so the final one, the bot global variable, it's called the bot variable, but I like to call it the global variable because it literally pertains to everything. No matter what user you're in, no matter what conversation you're in, no matter what workflow you're in, a bot variable is the same there. So no matter what, the bot variable pertains to that specific bot, which is why I like to call it the global variable of the studio. Then we have the user variable, which is directly under it, which can pertain to multiple conversations, but is linked to one user. Okay, so if you want to think of this sort of hierarchy, so the bot variables are at the top. They can only pertain to one bot. However, these bot variables can pertain to multiple users, right? And then we have user variables, which user variables can only pertain to one specific user. Then we have conversation variables. So a user can have multiple conversations. And so within each conversation, the conversation variables pertain to that one specific conversation. And then the workflow variables pertain to one specific workflow. And of course, a conversation can have multiple workflows. And so that's sort of the hierarchy where the bot is the most global at the top and the workflow is all the way at the bottom. So I hope that makes sense. Let's dive into the inner workings of the workflows themselves now. So let's start off with main here. So this is what's going to be started when a conversation is initialized. And so now let's discuss what this autonomous node is. So this autonomous node acts as a template explainer. So it goes over what I'm going to be discussing in this video from a very general format. It doesn't go into great detail like I'm going to in this video. It gives a general explanation of the template. You should delete this node right after understanding the template and watching this video and talking to it for a little bit. Please note though, however, it's imperative to note actually that when deleting this node, you will lose the home button. So to have the home button present, you need to have an autonomous node connected to your start. Once you delete it, it will disappear. So let's just do that real quick since I don't need this while I'm explaining. And then I would just connect it like this and like that. And as you can see, the home button disappeared. All right, so after the start, we enter the initializer flow. And so the initializer flow, as previously discussed, loads all of the metadata related to the bot, the company, and the user for use later within the bot. Let's go take a look at the initializer flow. Okay, so upon entry into the initialize flow, what we see here is the entry points. This is where the workflow begins. And it goes straight to get bot attributes node, which contains an execute code card. Now this pertains to the segmenting knowledge base based on customer tag and identity. I want to cover this at the end. It's a rather extensive topic. So before we even get there, I want to sort of go over the bot, the other parts of the bot. So when looking over the loading user data at beginning of conversation, we're going to skip this for now and start at the language selector. So this acts as a node in which you can set the language of the user. So you need to use the corresponding two-letter ISO 639-1 code. So example, EN for English, FR for French, etc. And you just type it in here and that's all it does. It just sets the user language. And then here, we then move on to the channel checker. So what's the channel checker? So the channel checker is going to load any user identification that we can get from your channel. So for instance, web chat has a built-in method for doing so. Otherwise, you must use channel tags. So what does this mean? So if event.integration is equal to web chat, this means that they are using the users coming from embedded web chat, or they're coming from the shareable link, in which case Botpress has its built-in way of getting user data using a get user data card, as you can see right here. And we already inputted the event.userid. So no need to change anything here. And we store it within a user variable called user.userdata. So now all of your user data has now been initialized within user.userdata. And so as you can see here, we have all of these user variables. Now, what happens if they're not part of web chat? So you might be saying, hey, Matthew, I rather integrated my bot as well with WhatsApp, with Instagram. I don't want users to be coming through web chat. How do I get their information? How do I identify these users and store it within a table and create these subbots? Well, what you could do here is we have the identify other user node. And if you go within the code, we actually have cases which match our most popular channels. So what does this mean? So we've found a way to detect if the user is coming from WhatsApp, then we save the user's phone number within user.phone-number. We save the user's phone number ID from WhatsApp within user.phone-number ID, etc. And we do this for the 4 main channels, which are WhatsApp, Telegram, Messenger, and Instagram. And then we even have this boilerplate template for default code, or rather a default case for if you want to add your own channel. So if you're not on Instagram, Messenger, Telegram, or WhatsApp, then of course you could add your own case or have your default case here. And so for instance, just to recap, if your user is on Instagram, then you can pull the user ID, so the user variable user ID from the Instagram ID. And so this is how you can identify your users. And manipulate it to create your own subbots, so your own multibots, and gather more information from where your users are coming from. And also basically being able to match like, hey, this user had this many conversations, or hey, this user interacted this way with the bot. And this is how you can basically map what users are doing. All right. And so now we connect this to our get user attributes. So we're coming from the user identifier, and now we're basically being able to load more data from an external source and then add it to the bot. So what does this mean? So we have all of this commented out code. Right now it doesn't do anything, but you can make it do something. So here are some real world production examples. So if you want to load user data from an external API, for instance, maybe you have a PostgreSQL backend and whatnot, we have some template code here. So we have like the response await axios.get and then your API endpoint, etc., etc. And then you could set username to the response.data.name if that's your response, like that, if that's what your JSON response looks like. And then of course we have template code for loading user data from a Botpress table. So once again, if you're storing your data within Botpress tables, then we have a function like find record, and you can basically from the record that we stored within a variable called user record, you can then load the username and the user preferences, etc. You can load a bunch of data from the Botpress table. And this is all of the template code needed to load from Botpress tables or to load data from external APIs. Okay, and so then finally, the initialize flow redirects you to the track function flow, which, as you remember from the Google Docs, this is part of the add event tracking to your bot. So we're not exactly there yet. I'm going to put it on pause for a second. We're going to tackle this in literally a minute. So we're not quite there yet. We'll get there shortly. That's the next thing we'll talk about. And so afterwards it exits, which means that it goes back to the main flow. So let's just go take a look at the main flow. So after we exit initializer, we then end up to the router. So upon exit, it goes to the router, which is the topic which is the fourth topic we will be discussing. So yeah, let's talk about adding event tracking to your bot. Okay, so we are in our main flow. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our analytics folder and head over to the track function flow. Now, the reason why we say it's a function flow is because it takes in input arguments. Think of it as if you were defining a function within a programming language. So it takes in the event name, the event user ID, and the event payload, and then passes it to one of these to either a built-in connector or a custom one that tracks events, in which you can see here that we gave template code for, this is basically like a generic example of how to track events to your specific analytics endpoint. And so yeah, so make sure of course to change the endpoint and to change the body if you were to connect the entry point to the custom node as opposed to the built-in node. Now, of course, we also have other ones. Well, this is Botpress's built-in track event. However, of course, if you want to use Google Analytics or Mixpanel or Segment, you would connect it to one of these three. So let's say we were to connect it to Google Analytics, then you would have to go to your installed integrations on the bottom left and ensure that Google Analytics or Mixpanel or Segment, depending on which one you're using, is installed and enabled. And you're going to have to set up your configuration. So put in your measurement ID and your API secret. And if you go over to info, we have a lot of documentation on how exactly does the integration work, how to set it up. So for instance, down here, we have these setup instructions. So basically log into your Google Analytics dashboard, etc. Go to your, check your data stream to obtain this, and then place it here, etc. And the same is done for Mixpanel and Segment. If you go to installed integrations, they should be here if they're already installed. If not, then you're gonna have to go to click on Find More on the hub, and then you just search for Google Analytics, as you can see right here, or you'd search for Mixpanel as well. I have them at the top because I've already installed them, but you could just search, and there it is. It is also imperative to note that each of these track event cards are going to have different ways of functioning in terms of what exactly do they need as inputs. So for instance, if you were to click on Botpress's built-in track event card, all that is required is the name of the event. So you only need to input the event name. However, in the case of track event segment, track event Google Analytics, you should see here that we have the event user ID, the event name, and optionally you can put the event payload. You don't necessarily need to pass anything for the event payload if you're going to use Google Analytics, because as you can see, there's no red star next to it indicating that it is a mandatory requirement. However, as you can see, for the entry point, so I guess you could say the arguments of the function, we pass every single variable that you would need, so the event name, the event user ID, and the event payload, and it is up to you to pass the correct information and to choose the track event card that you would like to use. So now you may be asking, well, Matthew, what do you mean by passing the function arguments? So here within the entry point, we have the workflow variables that we want to pass upon entry. And if we go back to the initialized flow that we had seen previously, and we go to the end here where basically we transition to the track function within the initialized flow, if we were to click on it here, we can see that we can pass the event arguments, right? The function arguments, right? So here we can see event name, which you can write whatever you'd like. You can even pass a workflow variable or user variable, etc. You can go here, you have event user ID, and here you have event payload. And yeah, and then you check the exit box that after exiting the track event function, you can exit the initialized flow. All right, that sums it up. So before moving on to the next part, or rather the next concept, I want to sort of reiterate this idea of using a workflow as a function. Now, it is something that I will go over extensively when covering the router. So the router basically routing to different workflows. But it's important to note that you can use these new workflows that you've created as functions where basically upon entry, you're sending in workflow variables, and you can sort of gather these variables and send them to these functions. Now, we'll look very deeply into this when talking about the router, because the router, which once again routes to different workflows, will first grab the information from the users, or so basically from the people conversing with the bot, and then send this info to that workflow for then the workflow to do the work. So I just want to reiterate, that's basically how it works. And so yeah, so let's basically discuss now, how would you greet the user at the start of the conversation? And this is found once again in the main flow. So this is what's going to be started when a conversation is initialized. Well, there are two ways for the bot to be triggered. First off, there is the proactive greeting. So basically, this is how the bot starts the conversation first, meaning it doesn't wait for the user to send a message. Note that this only works in embedded web chat or in the shareable link web chat. This does not work with other platforms, like for instance, WhatsApp. You would have to change the configuration for these other platforms. And this start occurs whenever a user types a message. So if they were to just say hi, then that's how this green start would be triggered. Okay, so now that we've discussed how to proactively greet the user through using a trigger node that is triggered when your embedded web chat on your site is loaded, as opposed to just solely having the green start, which is triggered whenever the user starts the conversation first, so types to the bot. Now that we've finished discussing that, we're now going to look into the AI versus button-based routing. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we can see the summary of the router. So here we are inside the router. And so this is the main handler for your bot. So it greets the user and then sends users to all specialized flows. So essentially the flows that are actually doing the work. So scheduling appointments, searching knowledge bases and answering questions, handing off to a live agent, etc. All of these flows are reached through the router. So first things first, what happens is that you have this node called select router type, which is a single choice card, which gives you the option between an AI router and a no AI router. So what this means is that we have a router that acts as a concierge and routes you to different workflows using AI. And then we have an option here in which no AI is used. So let's take a look at both of them to see how they work. So for the AI-based router, we have an autonomous node router. So it's a conversation style router. So kind of like ChatGPT style bot, and it performs actions according to the capabilities you give it. So for instance, here we have all of the instructions. I tell the autonomous node, hey, tell the user tell the user, let me know if you'd like to book an appointment or ask a question or contact a human agent, etc. And then if assigning to a human agent, ask the user for their email, and I'll explain why we do this after. It's basically so that we can have, it's because we need to pass the email to the live agent handoff card. Once again, we'll be discussing this later. And then I say, oh, well, if the user asks to search and filter for appointments, given a specific party size and name, ask the user for the name they'd like to search for. And once again, we'll be looking at this later. But just to give you an understanding, within the autonomous node instructions, we're prompting it to tell it what to say, what to look for, what to grab, and what to pass to these workflows before transitioning to them. Because at the end of the day, similar to the analytic tracker, some of these flows act as functions. So for instance, the search KB acts as a function, meaning that it's taking in input arguments. So to pass these input arguments to these workflows, we're telling the autonomous node to do it. So for instance, let's just look real quick at search KB function. So it's found within search and filter, or no, search knowledge bases, sorry. So search KB function. As you can see, the entry node takes in a string argument called search question. So basically that flow, what it does is it answers questions from the knowledge base, as we stated beforehand. So the autonomous node, through a conversation, is going to ask you what question you want to ask, grab that question and pass it to that flow, and then that flow will handle it and search within the knowledge base. We're going to go over that once we get to that part. Right now, we're just showing how the routing works. And so that's essentially what it does. Yeah, so now let's look at how the button-based router handles things. So this is a router that, once again, it is not conversation-like at all. It is not ChatGPT style. You are not necessarily talking to a bot. Rather, you are just getting a drop-down. So you're not talking to the bot saying, hey, I want to do this, and then the bot's talking back to you and saying, hey, give me this. Hey, give me that. Oh, this is invalid, blah, blah, blah. This is more straightforward, drop-down, very well. It's not a conversation. That's the best way I could describe it. I will test the bot and show you what it looks like shortly. So first things first, we have the button router greeting. So to make it seem a bit more conversation-like, what we did was essentially we set a variable called welcomed user, which basically means that have we already welcomed the user? If we have, then we won't send the text message, hello, how can I help you? If this is the user's first time entering the button-based router, then we will send the message, hello, how can I help you? If it's more than one, then we will stop sending this, just to make it seem a bit more like a conversation, even though it doesn't really act like one. And so here the single choice card has this drop-down menu of these options, and if the user clicks schedule an appointment, it takes them directly to schedule appointments. If they click ask a question from the knowledge base, it takes them directly there. And then these little nodes here are basically, they just exist to make the workspace look cleaner, to make the studio look cleaner. So the nodes A1, A2, A3 are used solely to make the connection that links back to the router cleaner. So let's talk to the bot real quick, just to show from a router's perspective what this would look like. So if I were to test my bot, I could see here that it pulled all of the stuff from initialize. So look, we have initialize, identify web chat user, blah, 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 blah. Everything happened. And now we reached the router and we are currently at this node. So we can see in yellow in our studio what has been passed. So all of these things have been passed. I set my language to English. So, and we've made our way to the select router type. And so now if I were to click on no AI router, it should take us to this button router, right? It should take us to this single choice card. So if I were to click no AI router, we get the hello, how can I help you? And we make our way here. And so now if we can see the little drop down, which would look different on the actual embedded web chat and on the shareable link as opposed to within the emulator. But so we get the hello, how can I help you message. And now basically we can click whatever we'd like. So I can click on scheduling an appointment. It's going to route me to that flow. I could click on search and filter for appointments given a specific party size and name. We're going to go through each of these flows when talking about each of the individual sections. Right now, we're just talking about the router itself. So I think we can safely say, let's end the conversation. Okay, actually, let's just restart and let me show you how the autonomous router works now. So let's restart. Let me test my bot from scratch. It should take me back here. So as you can see, once again, it did all of the passing through here. It realized that I was a web chat user, so it didn't go through identify other user. So it went through here, initialized everything. I go to my router. I'm picking the router type. I want to go AI router. But once again, you should probably delete this node and just connect to one of them, whichever one you want to use. If you want to use an AI-based approach, then you should use that, because some of our users prefer to use AI. Other users work for companies or may have companies that don't want to use AI, and so they want to use more of a button-based approach. And so what we recommend is obviously just deleting this node like we did in the main function when we deleted the autonomous node, and just choose where you want to put your connection. So your entry node should either go here or here, right? And so, yeah, and so now as you can see here, we have a conversation with the bot. And so now I'm going to tell the bot like, hey, okay, so we don't have a drop down. So I'm going to say, hey, let's say I want to ask, or rather I want to contact a human agent, right? So I want to do the human in the loop. It should ask me for my email. So there you go. It says, please provide your email so I can connect you with a human agent. So it's going to wait for me to give my email before going to the handoff to agent function, because it's realizing that the handoff to agent function has an entry variable of email. So it's waiting to get the function arguments from you before passing it to this flow. And so that's essentially how the router works. It collects the information, sends you to different flows. We have two ways of doing it: AI-based approach, non-AI-based approach, and that sums it up. And so before moving on to the next part, I want to really drive home this point of not needing to actually specify to the autonomous node like which flow it needs to go to, or which area it should go to. Like, you don't need to necessarily tell it. It can infer these things. So let me show you what I mean. I created a very basic bot on the side, so outside of the starter bot, specifically for this video, just to drive home this idea. So basically, I have this bot. The main flow is currently completely empty, and I created two sub workflows. So I created a workflow called search knowledge base, which basically what it does is upon entry, it takes in a search question, then it queries the knowledge base. Basically, it searches the knowledge base for this question, and then transitions if an answer was found, so if the length is greater than 0, if it found an answer, then it goes to the found answer node and returns the answer that it had found. If it doesn't find an answer, then it returns nothing, and it goes to the node called answer does not exist. For image handler, upon entry, it takes in a variable called image URL, and then basically all this does is it extracts the content of the image and then sends out the content of the image. So basically, if you send the Botpress logo, it'll extract the content of the Botpress logo and it'll tell you that this is the Botpress logo. So what do I mean by you don't need to necessarily tell the autonomous node where to go and you don't need to hold its hand? Well, the autonomous node can infer based on the names of your workflows and on the names of the entry variables. It can infer where it needs to go. So for instance, if I were to connect my start to an autonomous node and I were to write in the instructions, you are an autonomous router, your job is solely to route to other workflows. So basically, I don't tell it anything. I don't tell it what variables it needs to grab. The only reason why I did it within the starter bot template was basically to make it more robust, but this is just to show you that that's not necessary, right? So it's not necessarily necessary. So if I were to go to add a card here and I were to just add search knowledge base and image handler, if we were to click on search knowledge base, we can see that search question has a little pink pencil on it. This means that we're letting AI decide what the search question is. So it has this information. It knows that there's a card called search knowledge base, and it knows that there's a variable called search question. So the autonomous node is smart enough that without being told in its instructions, it's smart enough to know and smart enough to infer that if it were to get a question, it would need to go to that particular flow. And same goes for here. It sees that there's a card called the image handler and that the input variable is image URL. So it knows that if it gets an image, if it gets an image URL, that is supposed to go to image handler, right? I did not write anything explicit in here. And same thing for the starter bot, actually. If we go to the starter bot, I never said transition here. I never said transition there. I only say if assigning to a human agent, ask the user for their email and store it in workflow.email. Right? That's particularly for workflow.email for this specific flow. But I never really tell it, go to that flow, go to that flow, go do this. So in this case, I tried to make it as bare bones as possible. All I wrote was, you're an autonomous router. Your job is solely to route to other workflows. I didn't tell it what the variables were. I'm trying to see how smart the autonomous node is and if it can infer such information by itself. So let's test. If I were to test my bot, okay, let me just go to my knowledge base here. It's pulling from this knowledge base, which was Botpress was founded in 2016. So now if I were to ask, when was Botpress founded, we're going to see that this autonomous node, so this right here, we're going to show that it answers the infamous question on the Botpress Discord, on the Botpress live streams, the infamous question of how do we transition out of autonomous nodes? This is basically how you put workflows as cards within autonomous nodes, and you just let it infer where it needs to go. Of course, you can make it more robust by explicitly telling it where to go, but you can also just try to see if it works based off just inference. So if I were to write, when was Botpress founded, right, we'll see here that it should say it transitioned to search knowledge base, so it transitioned here, and it searched the knowledge base and it found that Botpress was found in 2016. Now, this is actually a topic that we're going to discuss again in, where are we going to discuss this? Oh yeah, querying your knowledge base and saving the question. So we're not going to go too in depth on that, but I'm just going to show you that it transitioned there. Now, if I were to send it an image, would it know where to transition to? So if I send it this Botpress logo.jpg and I click send, let's see if it goes to image handler directly. And look, as you can see here, it transitions to image handler directly. Within that flow, I basically had it print out to the image URL, but that's fine. You don't need to do that. And so in any event, as you can see here, it transitioned directly to image handler. It told me what the image was. So this was just a small little bot I created on the side while making this video because I just really wanted to drive that point home of the bot knows where to transition to, which is why I strongly believe and I strongly advise that when people are working with autonomous nodes, they should turn every single one of their autonomous nodes into routers, okay? So you have these separate workflows. Now, bear in mind, these separate workflows can also have their own autonomous nodes. So for instance, when we look at the starter bot template and we look at requiring information, so that we look at the next topic that I'm going to discuss, we'll actually see that I use an autonomous node to route to another autonomous node. And the idea is that you don't want to put too many prompts, or rather too much prompting into a single autonomous node. It might generate bad code, right? Because of course the autonomous node's job is to generate code for itself. But at the end of the day, it's an LLM, and LLMs do make mistakes in their code if you have either a lower class LLM or if you're using a lot of prompts. It may get confused and it may generate bad code for itself. But in this case, by sending an autonomous node to an autonomous node or sending an autonomous node to another AI task or a query knowledge base card, we're basically eliminating the possibility of that happening. And once again, the autonomous node is smart enough to infer where it needs to go. As you can see, all I did was send an image. I did not tell it in the instructions where to go, and it knew to go to the image handler automatically. So yeah, I think that sums up routing. Of course, this is much simpler when looking from a no AI perspective, where you just have buttons. If click this button, go there. If click that button, go there. But of course, with AI, it is a bit more complex. However, when you understand it, you'll realize that's actually not really that complex, and it's quite cool. So yeah, let's move on to requiring information and sending it to a tool. So we're back to the router, it seems. Yeah, the router. The AI-based router and the button-based router will both send you to schedule appointments dash conversation. So let's take a look at what that does. So once again, in your app folder, within your schedule appointments folder, we see something here called schedule appointments dash conversation. You can enlarge in this, or rather conversational, sorry. And so once we enter in here, we can see that this is how you can mix and match an AI router with non-AI workflows and vice versa. So in this example, you can pick which type of workflow you'd like to use. Oh, whoops. So delete this single choice card and directly connect the entry node to the flow method you want to use. So if you want to schedule an appointment using AI, then you would delete this and just connect the entry to schedule with AI. And if you don't want to use AI, then just connect it to the controlled output scheduler, whereas this is the autonomous node scheduler. So one uses an autonomous node to schedule an appointment and update the table, whereas the other just uses purely functional. And let's look at both. So first things first, let's look at the autonomous node scheduler. So if we go within workflows folder, let's go to autonomous node scheduler. Let's look at the summary together. So workflow for an appointment scheduler that uses AI, it adds appointments to tables. Note, it doesn't check the validity. Okay, that makes sense. So what does it mean by does not check validity? This means that it doesn't check if the time is valid, right? Because this is a template bot. We don't know your business's working hours. Of course, that is something that you can incorporate. Like for instance, if your business is only open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but then someone schedules an appointment at 8 p.m., in this system, it would just update it to the table. But of course, you would have to add validity checks. So let's look at what this autonomous node does. So this autonomous node redirects users to create an appointment after acquiring the email, party size, date, time. If the user changes their mind, the node redirects the user to the router flow. Okay. So essentially, once again, we are doing the same thing we did for the autonomous router, which is basically where, hey, I want to gather this information and pass it to the schedule appointment function. Because once again, we have a schedule appointment function, as you can see here. And on entry, it's saying that the arguments need to be the email, the party size, and the reservation date time, which is essentially the date and time. So I guess like, let's say February 19, 2025 at 8 p.m., right? And so if we go here, we can see that we're just gathering the information. We're gathering the email, the party size, which is the number of people that are showing up to the appointment, the date and time. And then, of course, if the user changes their mind, send them back to the router, which we put the router right under the schedule appointment. And then afterwards, what it does is it, in the function, so we enter the function, and this is what we're brought with. So first things first, we see, of course, the entry with the entry arguments. And then as you can see here, we're left with two flow paths, one that is disconnected and one that is connected. So the two flow paths are obviously for a reason. So this flow path allows you to insert the appointment into a Botpress table. So right here into a table called appointments table. As you can see, I already created some here. And let's just go back. Whereas the top flow is for calling an external tool to essentially create a ticket, or rather create an appointment in an external tool. So here we have some boilerplate code for if you would want to send this to an external database. So of course, Botpress has integrations that can link to external databases. Like for instance, we have a Postgre SQL integration. However, if we don't have an integration for your specific database, then we have some boilerplate code that it contains, configuration for API requests to essentially send the new ticket, or rather the new entry, the new row, to your database. And so that's what this is for. Right now, this is disconnected. If you don't want to send it to an external tool, then of course you can delete this flow path. But for as of right now, we just have it strictly connected to the tables that are built in within Botpress. So Botpress's tables. And so what this does is when it's connected here, what it does is it generates a confirmation number, just a random number. I think, and then basically if the email.length is greater than 0, meaning that we have a valid email, it sends you to the insert record card. However, if we don't have a valid email, meaning that the email.length is less than 0, meaning that we didn't get a proper email from the autonomous node or from the functional slash non-conversational slash non-AI based appointment schedule grabber, which I'll show you right after this. If we don't get a valid email from our routers, then we will send to the invalid email node and send back no exit variable. So we're not returning anything. We're basically returning void. If you want to think of this from a developer perspective, we're returning nothing, right? Just return. It's a void function. Whereas if we do find something, it becomes a function in which we're returning an integer. And the integer that we're returning upon successful insertion is the confirmation number. So, hey guys, successful email created. We're returning a confirmation number. And basically, let's go back to the AI based initializer, autonomous node scheduler. And so what's going to happen is upon successful creation, so if the email was invalid, we don't actually exit the autonomous initializer, we stay stuck within it, right? So as you can see, the exit nodes that we have checked is successfully created email. So if the user entered an invalid email, they're going to be staying stuck within the autonomous initializer until they actually give a valid email. Then after giving a valid email, it gets sent to, okay, print the confirmation number. So once again, upon exit, one of the return variables that we give, or the only return variable that we give, is we return the confirmation number. And so this basically just prints the confirmation number to the, or rather not print, but sends, the bot sends a message to the user, which basically displays the confirmation number. And then we return to the router. So that pretty much sums up how the AI-based approach works. Now let's look at the non-AI-based approach, so the controlled output scheduler. It functions pretty much exactly the same way, except just without AI. So what we do is we have these capture information cards. So we capture the email, we capture the date, time, we capture the party size, and then we send them once again to the schedule appointments function. We don't need to go over this. We literally just did. So it sends them back here. So basically what we're doing is we're showing these two different ways at which you can gather information. You can gather information from a conversational approach using AI, or from a very robust approach using single choice cards or using capture information cards. And so in this case, we're asking for the email and we're asking for the date, time. And so now first things first, you might be asking yourself, well, Matthew, how do we even check that the person sent a valid email? Like we're not talking to an AI anymore. Well, here's the cool thing about our capture information cards. So let's say I were to try to schedule an appointment, right? And I were to use no AI, meaning that I'm coming within the controlled output scheduler. So we should be entering this node now. So as you can see here, it's asking for my email. As you can see, this node just turned yellow. We've entered here. And so if I click on this email, it says the type of value to extract is an email address, which means that this capture information card is expecting an email address. So if I were to put an invalid email address, like, I don't know, M, it's going to reprompt email ? Again, because it realized that this wasn't a proper email. As you can see, it detected that this didn't actually fit the type of value that it was trying to extract. And so now if I were to put m@gmail.com, of course it doesn't check the validity of the email to see if it's a real email or not. However, it detects that the type of text that was sent was an actual email. And so if I were to put m@gmail.com, then we have that. And so when is the date / time? And so of course here you can pretty much put more or less any format. As long as it gets a date and time, it should capture the variable. So I can literally put this in with whatever format I want. I could put 2025-02-21 to basically say February 21st, or I could even put it the other way, or I could even just say February 21st, 2025. I could even put 19 o'clock, or I could just put 7 p.m. Let's just put 7 p.m. and it should still capture it, and we could see it being captured within the workflow because it's supposed to sort within workflow.datetime. Let's see if it detected it. So as you can see here on the bottom left, we can see 2025-02-21 T190000. So it basically put it in Zulu time. So it detected that 7 p.m. was 19 o'clock, and that February 21st was the second month, etc. And so the party size, if I just put some random stuff, it's going to spit back out at me saying, hey, I expected a number here. And so I'll say, okay, 4 people are coming. And so now it's going to take me to the schedule appointment function. And Now, what happened is that upon successful creation, we get spit out to the creation successful node, which basically just prints out, or rather sends to the user, this text. So, hey, your appointment has been successfully created. Your confirmation number is, and then it's spit out. Whereas upon unsuccessful creation, we just say appointment has not been created, invalid email, and then we exit. So this is like a safety check in case the email somehow went through there, or in case you do end up putting validity checks in within the function workflow, then your creation unsuccessful would be hit, right? And so then we exit and we go back to router A1. And then as you can see here, how can I help you has come back. Now, the most important part about this is going back to the tables, going back to appointments table, and seeing that we have successfully added it to our Botpress table. As you can see, this was created moments ago, m@gmail.com, 4 people, the exact same confirmation number, February 21st, 19 o'clock Zulu time. And so, yeah, and now we can also look at this from an AI perspective, just to wrap this up real quick before moving on to the next point that I want to discuss. Yeah, let's test our bot. Let's do this from a conversational standpoint. So I'm going to go full AI router. I want full AI everything. I love AI. Let's go schedule, book an appointment. Or I could say anything. I could just say schedule appoint. That should be enough. The AI should understand. There you go. It's perfect. I want AI-based scheduling. And so then I'm going to transition, and I was going to say, okay, give me your email, your party size, your date and time. If I give a bad email or I miss some data, let's just say I go m@gmail.com. I don't say anything else. This is conversational. So he should say, hey, yeah, exactly. Thank you for providing your email. Now, can you please provide the party size and date and time? So as you can see, this is a more conversational approach, like as if you're talking with the AI, like as if you're talking with ChatGPT. And so then you could say, hey, the party size is, or I could just say 4 people. Let's see if it picks that up as the party size. And so then it should say, okay, thank you for providing the party size. Now please give me the date. And then we could say, okay, let's try to make it distinguished from the other one. So February 22nd, 2025, 3 p.m. And then it should pick that up, and we should get spit out, and perfect. And now we're back to the router. So, and we printed our confirmation number, which was right here. And we go back to the router, and if we go to our table, it should be updated. Perfect, moments ago. Same confirmation number, same time, 3 p.m., so 15 o'clock. Yeah, it's perfect. I don't like AI hallucinations. You don't like AI hallucinations. Let's be honest, nobody likes AI hallucinations. So let's discuss querying your knowledge base given an inputted question. So how do you actually get the answer you're looking for, and how to make the bot say, hey, I don't know the answer. If the answer is not found within your specified knowledge base, we don't want to actually have the bot spit out random things. So let's take a look at this. And so let's look at our knowledge bases here. We have, from before, we have the Matthew knowledge base for that specific user. We have the default knowledge base and the Botpress knowledge base. So yeah, in my case, I'm just trying to remember what from the tester, what knowledge base I will be using. So it's going to go through here. It's going to go, yeah, so it's going to fetch the bot details. It should pull from the default knowledge base if there's something written in here. So let me just go bot, just to leave something in there. So now I'm forcing myself to use the default knowledge base. And what I'm going to do is, let me go look at the information that's found within the default knowledge base. So there's one thing currently written. Matthew's 20 years old and Botpress was founded in 2016. Cool stuff. So now we're going to save that, and we're going to start discussing, well, what does this do? So let's go to the router. So once again, we're going to look at the button router and the autonomous node router from the search KB perspective. So once again, both pass to the same thing, I'm pretty sure. No, this time they pass to different things. The reason why is because to ask a question, you need to have a conversational, you need to have AI. Okay, to ask a question from your knowledge base, to be able to even query your knowledge base, you need some form of AI. So in this case, the non-AI enjoyers who use the button-based router will have to use AI for their search KB, because you have to. It's just how it is. So when we go to the search KB conversational, which comes from the button-based router, upon entry we don't take any variables, and we have the autonomous collector, which all it does is it collects the question that you have. Now, from the autonomous router perspective, this router can already collect your question, so we don't really need to send it to a conversation. You're not going to send an autonomous node to autonomous node. For what? Gather the values that you need for the variables to pass to the function. Whereas from the button perspective, we need to go to the actual collector itself, which is why I called it the autonomous collector. So in any event, in this case, we just go straight to the search KB function. The search KB function takes in upon entry a search question, a variable of type string, and we get this query knowledge base card. So what it does is it puts the search question that we got from here, so that the autonomous node collected. So in the query we put the question, and in this case, for your included knowledge bases, you can within here you need to put the KB ID. So when clicking this, it gives you two options. Either A, you can select the KB from a list, or B, if you want to work from a dynamic standpoint where you have a multi-bot bot, then you can just grab the KB ID that you could grab the knowledge base that you're specifically looking for from the knowledge base ID. So in this case, the knowledge base ID, which is why I went to go look at my initializer, since I currently have it hard-coded to set my knowledge base ID to the default knowledge base ID, then I know for a fact that my bot is going to be fetching info from the default knowledge base, which in this case was Matthew's 20 years old, Botpress was founded in 2016, etc., etc. And so if I go to my function again, so basically what's going to happen is it's going to search through this knowledge base, get my answer. And so as you can see, the answer is stored within workflow.answer. And so then you probably see this and you're thinking to yourself, Matthew, what is this insert record card that we have here? So basically what I want to show you is that we can Botpress can allow us to give us the information of exactly where did the AI find this answer. Which chunk did it find it in? Which knowledge base did it find it in? What was the file name? What was the entire context? What were the citations? Everything. So as you can see, I have this table called knowledge base answers table, which is basically where whenever you ask the bot a question pertaining to the search knowledge base, if it finds an answer, it populates the answer column, tells you the conversation ID, so which conversation was it in, tells you the user ID, so which user was it, it tells you the last user message, so the last message that the user sent, which is going to end up being the question, of course. So what was the question that prompted this row to be added? Where was it found? So now you might be seeing some empty things and you're thinking, hey, this doesn't work. Well, in reality, when we get the answer being empty and empty citations, this basically means that the answer does not exist within your knowledge base. So once again, all of these questions were asked to from the default knowledge base. And so from inside the default knowledge base, we have two sentences. Matthew's 20 years old and Botpress is founded in 2016. I asked the questions, how old is Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada? How old is Joe Biden? And it left the answers blank and it left the citations blank, basically saying, I didn't find this information from any knowledge base. Whereas the other question, so how old is Matthew, we found that this was found within the default knowledge base. We have the citations context, so basically what was stored exactly inside the file at that period in time. And so here we can see I only added Botpress was founded in 2016, about a day ago. I was just testing stuff, but from a week ago that wasn't there. In any event, then we have the citations chunk, the document ID, so the ID of the document uploaded onto Botpress, the citations file name, right? So the name of the file. And then we have the KB ID from which it came. And if we remember correctly, this is the exact ID of the default knowledge base. Just to recap, 2FOA7, we go to knowledge bases, we go to default knowledge base, and as you can see, 2FOA7 right there. And so let's just see how this works. Let's talk to our bot. So if I go, hey, I'm going to go AI router based approach. He's going to say, ask a question. So I want to ask a question. So then he's going to say, okay, what's your question, right? This is the conversational approach. We're going with the AI. And so then I'm going to say, well, my question is, how old is Matthew? And now you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, Matthew, how did you get that? Okay, so it's gonna say, let me search for the answer to your question. And so there you go. And then we go back to the router. So let me just go back to what I was trying to say beforehand. Hey, Matthew, how did you know that the last user message was stored in event.preview? How did you know that citations was in turn.knowledgeagent.citations? Well, Botpress has this really cool thing. This is the coolest thing about Botpress, in my opinion, is if you hover on the bottom screen here, you can see your logs, your event debugger, and your JSON. Your JSON payload, man, this thing is so important. This is how you basically see the inner workings of what your bot. What does your bot have stored? What is happening? What is the channel? What is the user ID? And you have this little copy paste clipboard, which allows you to copy paste where do you get this information. So let's say I say, hey, Matthew, I don't know how to grab the user ID. How do I do this? Oh, I tell you, open up your JSON, go to user ID, click path, click this little clipboard, path copy to clipboard, go wherever you want to type it, do Control V, Command V if you're on Mac, and boom, event.user ID. Now you know how to grab that information. This is basically the inner workings of your bot. And so you're saying, okay, well, how did you know where to grab all of this knowledge-based stuff? How do I know where my file is located? Well, listen, we have these things called agents. Our knowledge agent is what acts as the agent for the AI agent for the query knowledge base card. So if we go here and we go to agent variables, because we're looking for that specific agent, and we go to knowledge agent, okay, which is the agent, once again, that acts as the query knowledge base card. And if we go to turn, and if we go to citations, hold on a second, we see something here called answer. Okay, we see something here called citation details, and also we're seeing default knowledge base. That's interesting. Let's open citation details. Let's open the first element of the array, because citation details is an array. So let's go to the 0th element, right? Once again, if you're a developer, you'll know what that means. And there you go, chunk ID, the name, so the friendly name, I guess, if the name of your knowledge base was different as compared to just the default knowledge base, this would probably be different from this. Then you have the content of that knowledge base, which was that, and then you have the doc ID. And so you're saying, hey, and then you have the score, you have everything, all of the metadata as well. And so the type, since this is a rich text, the type is HTML. So yeah, if you had put a PDF, then the type would be PDF. So now you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, Matthew, this doesn't prove anything. My AI could still hallucinate. Well, no, because this knowledge agent is searching from that specific knowledge base's chunks. So let's take a look here. So if I say I have another question, once again, recall I'm searching from the default knowledge base. So, and I say, hey, how old is, I don't know, someone random. I won't do Justin Trudeau again because that's pretty random. How old is Donald Trump, I guess, right? Current president of the United States. Let's just whip that out and let's see what happens. And it should tell you, like, I don't have this information. I don't know. And so it looked, I'm sorry, but I couldn't find the answer to your question about Donald Trump's age. And it brought you back to the router. And so now if we go look here, we should see that answer was null to our knowledge agent. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. As you can see, the answer was null, responded is set to false, and we don't have any citations. Remember, I clicked citations, I clicked citation details. We don't have that anymore. We don't have that option because we didn't actually get an answer. If answer is null, then citations that never existed, right? But now, just to show you the disparity, to show you the difference, ask a question, and I say how, or rather, when was Botpress founded as my question. So when was Botpress founded? Answer will no longer be null and citations will become populated. So let's wait. Let's watch it happen in real time, right? This is so cool. And then, perfect. And so we click, and now let's go look. Agent variables, knowledge agent, turn, and there it is. The answer is right there. And citations details. It's amazing. And there you go. You have everything. And if we go look at the tables, we should see 3 new populated rows. And yes, let's just close this. Okay. And so we have how old is Matthew? That's the question we had just asked literally 4 minutes ago. And now we have how old is Donald Trump? We didn't get an answer. Perfect. And when was Botpress founded? Botpress was founded in 2016. We got the answers. You know the drill. Now, just to look at it from the perspective of what the workflow is doing, now that we saw what it looks like in the web chat, well, on the web chat, but rather in the emulator. So once again, just to recap, from when you're talking to it from the no AI router, so the button-based router, it takes you to the autonomous collector. You need to use AI for this. Even just the query knowledge base card uses AI, right? It uses the knowledge agent. So you need to use AI for this part. And so then it takes you to the function, and it basically spits out the answer. It returns the answer if it found the answer, and it returns void, or rather it's just a void function. Doesn't return anything if it couldn't find the answer. And yeah, and basically the way that we check this is if we check that the answer dot length is greater than 0. So same thing to how we did the email dot length. So basically meaning if it found an answer, then the length would obviously be greater than 0. There would be at least one character, I would hope. And so the answer can then be passed and exited, and we call the node found answer. Whereas if we never found an answer, this always condition isn't met. We can't make this voyage. We can't make this trip. And so what happens is we just exit upon could not find answer. And yeah, so that sums up how querying your knowledge base given an inputted question works. Now let's take a look at live agent handoff. I'm tired of talking to this AI. I want to talk to a human. How do I do that? Well, this bot also teaches you how to do that by assigning the conversation as a ticket to a live agent. Let's dive in. First and foremost, it's imperative to note that in order to use live agent handoff, you need to have either a plus plan or up. So a plus plan, team plan, enterprise plan as of right now. So anything above pay as you go has access to the human in the loop integration for Botpress, which is basically just live agent handoff. So if you don't have that, this workflow won't work. You'll still be able to see it in the template, but it just won't function. Okay, let's discuss what it does. So let's go back to our router. I like to start everything in the router. And so the autonomous router sends you to handoff to agent function, whereas the button router sends you to the conversational one, because once again, we need to pick up our variables. The autonomous router picks up the variables itself before sending it to the function, whereas the button router needs to send you to a conversational thing to grab your variables and your values before passing it as arguments to the handoff to agent function. So let's take a look at this. So let's go look at the conversation. What do we need? We just need the email. It's very simple. The only thing you need for the human in the loop handoff is the email. So we simply ask, what is your email? It gathers the email, passes it to the function, and then exits, right? So let's look at the function, what happens. So I have this execute code card that basically generates a unique ticket ID. It's the same thing as generating a confirmation number for the appointments table. I just think that this one I made it smaller. So this one's 3 digits, whereas the other one was, I think, 6. So yeah, and then we escalate to a human. So once again, you go to agents, you need to have the HITL agent enabled. So the human in the loop agent, once again, there's different agents. So we have the translator agent, which is what allows us to change the language over here. So set user language. This agent is the translator agent. We have the knowledge agent, which allows us to search from our knowledge bases. And now we have the human in the loop agent, this new guy over here. What he does is he basically sends the entire conversation to a human and allows a human to answer. So let's just publish this, because in order to work with human in the loop, also you need to publish your bot. It's not going to work in the emulator because this is just a simulated environment. You need a real published working environment in order for a human to enter the conversation and talk as the bot. So let me just publish it. And so now here we are back in the live studio. So basically, another important thing to note is, yes, you need the HITL agent enabled, but at the same time, you also need to go to your installed integrations and make sure that HITL, so human in the loop, is installed. It's made by Botpress. It has this green Botpress logo. Make sure that this is installed. And yeah, and so now what you're going to do is you're going to want to go back to your Botpress dashboard. Make sure that you have your bot selected here from the drop down. So if you have multiple bots, make sure that you have the one that you're currently working on selected here. Go to human in the loop. And as you can see here, no conversation started. Let's start one. or actually first let's just show you how it works. So basically it generates the random ticket ID, and now we have this escalate to a human card that comes from the human in the loop agent. And so basically here within the ticket title, I passed the ticket ID that I generated from the random ticket ID generator. And then within the ticket description, we currently don't have anything, but if you want, you can put the summary of the conversation that you gathered from the summary agent. You can put your own custom description, whatever you'd like. However, it's not a required field. And then within the username, we just send the user.name, and within the user email, we just send user.email, which we grab from here. And then this basically has a ticket status, which basically says that the human ticket has been closed, returning to autonomous agent, please reprompt. And basically we send that ticket status to the autonomous agent, and we return that string. So the return type is a string in this case. All right, so all seems well. Let's just have a conversation with the bot. So let's go back to the web chat preview. What happened here? Oh yes, this is a feature that we added. Okay, wait. Just to recall, because I had already forgotten. There's a lot of features, as you can see from this video. If we go back to main, we have the conversation started, which is the proactive greeting, so that the bot starts the conversation before you start the conversation. And so as we can see here, before I even wrote anything, before I even wrote hi, I got this message about deleting the selector, which is why I was so confused. But basically, the initializer was triggered on its own by this, and we already made our way to the router. And as you can see, we're here right now. So, okay, that makes sense. Or we're here right now. This is yellow from a emulator conversation. So anyway, so we're currently here. Let's just go with the AI router. We'll have a small conversation, and then we'll send it to the human in the loop. So let's just do something quickly. So let's wait for the AI router to answer our question. Okay. So let's go with, what's something quick? Let me just, parties, let me just ask a question like we did before. Ask a question. How old is Matthew? Let me pre-write the question. Send me back. I want a bit of a conversation going before I send it to the live agent, just for this example. So, okay, the bot answered me. Matthew's 20 years old. I have a question that I know this bot can't answer me because it's not in a knowledge base. I need to speak to a human. Get me out of here. I want to contact a human. So you don't need to necessarily write contact a human agent. But, okay, let me just say m@gmail.com again. It needs to be a correct email format. And so now it says, I've escalated this conversation to a human agent. They should be with you shortly. Let's go back to our Botpress dashboard. We head over to human in the loop. And what do we see here? We see anonymous user. So this is me, m@gmail.com. And so now we see the whole conversation history. Okay, so let me see what's happening. Oh, okay. So I pretend I'm the guy trying to solve the ticket. Okay, cool. Let me assign this ticket to me. So now it's going to load, and now it says assignee updated, assigned to Matthew Petruzzello. So this basically grabs the name of my Botpress account name. So if you want to change that, just update your profile. But mine is currently Matthew Petruzzello. So if I go to web chat preview, it says that I've joined the conversation. You know, like, what's up? And as you can see, it updates here. So what's up? Hey, how are you doing? And then if I send that, it's going to send as the bot, but in reality, it's a human that has entered the conversation. And it's now we can go back and forth. We go back and forth for a couple hours. I figure out his problem. I solve it, whatever it is. And then I say, okay, I'm done with you. Go back to the bot. Go away. Resume chatbot. And so on my end, as the agent, the live agent, the conversation is closed. I don't see any more conversations here. And then if I go back here, agent, close the conversation. I will continue to assist you. Please confirm that you are ready to continue our conversation by typing anything to me. So you can say anything at all. So I'm just going to go with, hey. And basically this should mean that I'm ready to go back to the bot. And now it should take us back to the router. And there you go, returning to autonomous agent. So this is the ticket status that I was talking about. So some of you might have been confused, like, hey, why do we have this, where is it? Why do we have this ticket status string here? That's because I basically want to print it out to the user, basically saying like, hey, the ticket status is this. The human ticket has been closed. We're now returning to the autonomous agent. And now here we are. We're back to the AI router. And the AI router is basically saying, hey, you can book an appointment, filter for parties, or do whatever you like, end the conversation, etc. All right. And so that pretty much covers everything there is to know about assigning the conversation as a ticket to a live agent. Now let's take a look at adding CSAT at the end of the conversation. We do have a flow that is called end conversation, which is right here. And basically, the conversation can end when you're at a router. So if you're in the autonomous router and you type to end the conversation and you get taken to the end conversation flow, or if you go to the single choice button router and you click on end conversation, they will both take you to the end flow. And what the end flow does is it gets a rating of your satisfaction with our services. So a CSAT question. So how satisfied were you with our service today? So very satisfied. I give you 5 stars, all the way until very dissatisfied, like this conversation was horrible. And then after that, it inserts the table. It inserts the ratings into a table. So first it converts it to a number. So I convert it. So if someone clicks very satisfied 5, I convert it to 5. I convert this to 4, convert this to 3, whatever. I use switch cases, send it to a table. The table is called conversation ratings table. And so, oh my, we have a lot of ones. I guess I wasn't doing a good job. But so here you go. We can see these are conversations within the emulator. So the conversations that I was having in the bot within the emulator, that's why it has convo-1, convo-1, convo-4. Well, anything convo- means it was within the emulator, and anything with a real ID that looks like this means that I did it within outside the emulator. So either on the web chat preview, web chat embedded, etc. And so yeah, so let's end this conversation just to show you what happens. And we also store a summary of the conversation. I forgot to mention that. So if we go to end and we go to insert record, we see here conversation.summaryAgent.summary. This is another type of agent. So we talked about the HITL agent. We talked about the knowledge agent. We talked about the translator agent. We have another guy. Now this guy is called the summary agent. And what this agent does is it stores a summary of the conversation. So like a mini paragraph. And yeah, so I basically store it in the summary so that if ever you're trying to check out how people are rating your bot and what is the experience that they had with it, you can basically see, hey, so this guy rated it 1 star. Let me read a summary of the conversation he had with the bot. Okay, so this is what happened. Okay, he said this. Okay, the bot said this. He seemed to be very dissatisfied with that. Okay, interesting. So let's end the conversation here to basically show what this process looks like from a conversation standpoint. So I end the conversation. I was very dissatisfied again. And goodbye for now. Thanks for leaving a rating. And if we go back to this table, we could see moments ago. Oh no, wait, what? That was 6 hours ago. It was updated moments ago because I clicked on it. But let's see, a new row was added. Yeah, a new row was added moments ago. And we can see our new conversation ID. We can see a summary. Note that there's also other things you could store from the summary agent, not just a summary. Let me just put a little card here just to show you guys real quick. You can also save the entire transcript. Now, this is going to take up a lot of space because especially if someone had a long conversation with your bot. But you don't need to just store a summary. You can also store the entire transcript, which is grabbed like that. So instead of conversation.summaryAgent.summary, you would do conversation.summaryAgent.transcript, but we didn't put it in the template because this takes up a lot of space and you probably shouldn't save the entire transcript. But for those of you who wanted something like that, I gave it to you. Little bonus point there. Okay, and so that should pretty much sum up how to add CSAT at the end of the conversation. So now let's move forward with the next concept, which is searching and filtering from a Botpress table. Let's start off with, of course, looking at the router. So what's happening in the autonomous router? We go straight to, so this is called check booking. So search and filter folder. Let's close everything here. We got too much going on. Let's close the live agent handoff. Let's close that. So we have search and filter. So we have the conversational and the functional. I don't think this needs any explanation. We know what's up. The autonomous router is going to go straight to the function. It's going to collect the values for the variables that are going to be passed to the function. The button router approach is going to go straight to the conversational checkbooking. If we go to the conversational checkbooking, same thing like last time. We get the values that we're looking for. So let's just explain what this is supposed to do. So checkbooking, also known as search and filtering, is going to be an example to teach you how to table search and filter. In this case, it's going to search the appointments table for and return the rows that match the name of the person, so vector search, and the party size, which is a rules-based search, which I'll show you what that means within the execute code card. So basically, you give the bot the name that you're looking for, and you give the bot the party size that you're looking for, so name and party size from the appointments table. So let's just take a look at what this would mean. So let's say here I go to my appointments table. I want to get all of the rows that match the name David with a party size of 4. So it should return this this confirmation. This confirmation of the appointment. If I want to look for David with a party size of 2, it should return this row. Okay, so let's take a look at this in action, or rather, before we look at it in action from a conversation, let's just look at it from a flow perspective. So if it can't find any bookings, so first of all, this is supposed to return all bookings. So bookings more, it could return more than one. If it returns 0, meaning that it couldn't find something that matched your description, then it will quite literally say, couldn't find any person reservations for that, try another name. And if it does find it, then within the function itself, it will actually print it right here before returning the found bookings with the parties as the return variable. And so yeah, so once again, just to recap, the autonomous node for the autonomous router is going to pass these values, which is why we go straight to the function within the autonomous router. For the no AI router, it goes first to the conversational, grabs these values, passes it to here. Here we do some code. The code basically, this is the code for actually filtering and searching. So let's see what happens. So within the, so we use this, which is called client.findTableRows. We have the documentation here for it. So basically just copy this link, go to your browser, just paste that in there. And there you go. You have all of the code for finding and filtering from tables, but we'll just go over it real quick. So basically we say, we basically look for rows within await client.findTableRows. We're searching for the table appointments table. So that's what this table is called here, where we store our appointments. Let's go back. And then we search for the name that is stored within workflow.nameFilter. So that's the name that is passed as one of the arguments. So we store it in here. So if you're going the no AI approach, we store it. We ask for the name to search for, and we store it within workflow.nameFilter. We then also ask for the party size to filter, and we store it within workflow.partySizeFilter. We then pass the two to checkbooking function. From the autonomous node perspective, it works the same as the others. We just ask for it and then pass it to there. And so basically we're searching for name filter, and then we're actually doing the filtering from when the party size column, so that's what this party size green thing is. So when the party size column is equal to, so that's what the $ equal is, or EQ, when it's equal to the workflow.partySizeFilter. So when my party size filter is equal to the party size column and the name is found, then we can then return that row. If nothing is found, then return an error message, right? And if it is found, then store it within workflow.parties and join all of them together, right? Using spaces. All right, so that's basically essentially what this code does. And yeah, and so if we find the booking, meaning that workflow.parties.length is greater than 0, so we use the same logic that we've been using for the past other flows. So if we go in here, we store everything in workflow.parties, we join them together using the JavaScript function .join. We join them together into one string, and then if the string is greater than 0, we print it, say that we found parties and return the parties to the autonomous node or to the next router once you exit, or we return nothing, so we return void, which is void function, and we say bookings not found. And that pretty much sums it up. I don't think I'm missing anything. So let's look at it from a conversation standpoint. We could restart this conversation. So the conversation should be triggered automatically because of our conversation started that we added here within main. So let's just go back. Yeah, it's already there. Let's go the AI router, or we did AI router approach last time. Let's go to the no AI router approach this time. Switch things up a bit, spice things up. I want to search for appointments. Now, here's where it becomes really interesting about the difference between searching and filtering. So some of you might say, hey, Matthew, we're searching for the name, but we're filtering for the party size. What gives? If you remember from here, we basically say that the search by names is a vector search, whereas the party size is a rules-based search. What does this mean? This means this. Notice how in the columns, wait, where is it? Appointments table. In the columns, we have David Martinez. Well, when you're searching, you don't necessarily need to write the exact person's name. You could just write the first name or the last name, and it will match it because it's a search rather than a filter. You're not filtering for the direct string or the direct value. You're searching for that value to be found. So if the value is found, it could say David Martinez, or it could even say David something else, David Matthew. If the name is David Matthew here and the name is David Martinez and we're searching for David, the search is going to pull these two. But then the filter is what actually brings it down to that one specific value, right? So the filter is the exact value, whereas the search is if it exists within the value, then it counts. So if we go to web chat preview and I just write David, right? I don't write David Martinez. I just say David because once again, this is the vector search. But then for the party size to filter, right? So once again, that's the difference between searching and filtering. One is we're just looking for an existence, and one is we're looking for an exact matching. And so the party size, I don't know, which one do I want? I want number 2. Let's go for 2. So I'm going to say David with a party size of 2. It should give me this one with a confirmation number of 702-621. Let's go back. There it is. 702-621, 2025-0209. Is that what that was? Yeah, perfect. 21 o'clock. Oh, whoops. Yep, 21 o'clock, m@g.com. And that sums it up. And so if we go and we do this again, yeah, search and filter again, sorry. And then we go Martinez, right? Just to show you that search just looks for that one keyword to be found, whereas filter is very specific. And we go for this time, we should get the next one. And we got the other one, 386-366. If we go back, 386-366. All right, and that sums up searching and filtering. All right, so now that we've finished searching and filtering from a Botpress table, last but not least, let's go over segmenting knowledge bases based on customer tag and identity. So if you remember from the intro of this video, I discussed that this was a rather extensive or rather complex topic. And so even though it's found within the main flow, or not the main flow, but the initialized flow as a single execute code card, so that initial execute code card that we glossed over and skipped to save it for the end. I wanted to save this for the end to really dig into this topic and sort of have it as a closing topic of this video. All right, so now that that's covered, let's take a look at it. So within our initialized flow here, it enters from this entry point. And basically, it first goes to the get bot attributes node. So basically, this node is going to be used to set the bot name and company name to a variable to then be used everywhere within the bot. So these can be taken from an environment variable or loaded from a channel tag for advanced multi-bot bots. So let's take a look at this, this execute code card. Okay, so actually what's more important first is to take a look at how to change environment variables, because as you can see here within the execute code card, we say the conversation variable called bot name is equal to the environment variable called bot name. So the conversation variables are found here on the left panel, and we can see conversation bot name, conversation company name. And if we go to our settings, so we click on the gear icon on the bottom left, we can see our configuration variables, which are currently empty. So one for bot name and one for company name. So let's go take a look at what this code does. So firstly, it sets the bot name to environment.botname. It sets the company name to the environment.company name, and then it's hard-coded to set the knowledge base ID to the default knowledge base. Now, of course, you could change this. Now, why is this important? Well, this is important because let's go to my knowledge bases real quick. Let's say I want to have a knowledge base for a specific company because I have a multi-bot bot. I'm going to want to have a knowledge base for each separate company such that the bot only fetches info from that specific knowledge base when that specific company is interacting with my bot. So, for instance, let's say Botpress is talking to my bot. Well, then I want the bot to only get info from the Botpress knowledge base. Maybe if it's a general user that doesn't pertain to a particular company, then I want it to get its information from the default knowledge base. And then of course I have Matthew knowledge base for maybe a specific user called Matthew. Now of course you would add your knowledge bases as you would like, and to get the knowledge base ID is you would have to go to the URL header, and it is found right next to KB. So as you can see here, this is the URL, and KB slash and then KB dash with this string here, these numbers and letters. You would copy this, and this would be considered your KB ID. And so if we go back here to the initialize flow and we go to our code here, you can see that I set it for now to be defaulted to the default knowledge base. And as you can see, that is the KB ID, so the knowledge base ID of the default knowledge base. Now let's take a look at what the rest of this code does. So we have this if statement, okay. So if the conversation.botname is empty and the conversation.company name is empty, so what does this mean? This means that if we hadn't set anything within our environment variables, meaning I left these blank the way they are now, if those two variables are blank, we're going to enter this if statement, and what we're going to do instead is we're going to be able to fetch an ID from user data, so if it came from the web chat user data, or from your channel's tags to which you are sending to the bot. So this should be unique to a particular customer. So for instance, for Messenger, you could use the recipient ID. So you would use it like such. We have this template code here. So you would set your client name to event.tags.message and then Messenger recipient ID. And this is how you grab the unique recipient ID from Messenger, for instance. And for now, I use a hard-coded version. And you might be asking yourself, okay, well, Matthew, why do we do this? This doesn't sound very useful. Well, technically, if you have your client name, then you can store it within a table. So let's go here. Let's go to our table. We call it the sub-bots table in the template. And so here I have this custom client name, and I attach it to a particular company name called Botpress, and I attach it to a particular knowledge base ID, which is this KBID. And if I go back to my knowledge base, you'll see that this actually matches the Botpress knowledge base ID here found in the URL header. And as you can see, let me just go back. Sorry about that. If I go back to my code, what it's going to do is you can fetch the client name from whatever you would like to fetch it from, whether it be your channel's tags or from user data. Here we have a hard-coded version. And then what we have here is we have a find table rows function, which will basically filter the table to return a row in which the client name is found. So in this case, it will return Botpress and the Botpress knowledge base ID. So from my client name, I'm capable of figuring out what sub-bot I want within this bot, right? So if no bot was found, then we throw an error. And if multiple bots have the same client name, so for instance, if I were to go to this table and I had two rows with the same ID, the same client ID, client name, whatever you'd like to call it here, then I will get an error saying that, hey, you have multiple bots that match the same client. Why is that happening? So that's what that does. And then if everything's good, it checks out. It exists and there's not more than one, so it's meaning it's unique. There's existence and uniqueness. Then we assign the company name to the company name variable, and we assign the KBID to the conversation.kbid variable, same as we did up here, right? But this is a more dynamic approach whereas this is a more static approach, right? This is hard-coded within your environment variables, whereas this is fetched, okay? So that's pretty cool. And so that pretty much sums up every single part of this template of the kitchen sink template, our new advanced starter bot template for our more serious users who are ready to tackle the entire Botpress platform. So I guess with that in mind, I could say, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for staying with me throughout this video. I know it's a pretty long video with a lot of different complex topics, so thank you for sticking around. Happy bot building, and welcome to Botpress.